Round 2. Fight. Round 1. Fight. Round 2. Fight. Round 3. Fight. Round 1. Fight. Round 2. Fight. Round 3. Fight. Round 1. Fight. Round 2. Fight. Round 1. Fight. Round 2. Fight. Round one. Fight. Round two. Fight. Round one. Fight. Round two. Fight. Round one. Fight. Round two. Fight. Round 1. Fight! Round 2. Fight! Round 3. Fight! Round 1. Fight! Round 2. Fight! Round 1. Fight! Round 1. Fight. Make it heavy. Round 2. Fight. Round 1. Fight. Round 2. Fight. Round 1. Fight. Round 2. Fight.